What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how to use a hesitation release, okay? So we're going to be talking about how this could kind of get you some separation, how you guys could take an inside release off the hesitation release, how you guys could take an outside release, and how you guys can run a slant route, okay? So it's going to be give you a lot of value off the line and kind of just in terms of the technique behind this movement, okay? But first things first, fellas, I want to talk to you about a new video that we're offering on my website. It's a 40-minute breakdown, just like the one we're doing, but we talk about all the biggest wide receiver mistakes. So we talk about all the mistakes wide receivers make against press, top of the route, how you guys can avoid getting jammed off the line, and how you guys can create more separation. Check out that very first link in the description if you want to get access to that video. Let's get started. So, first things first here, we're going to be looking at this route from Davante Adams. I think he's probably the best next to Keenan Allen on using this kind of hesitation release, being able to create some separation. So he loves to use this hesitation release to set up a couple different things. So let's watch this thing full speed, then we'll break it down. So he hesitates, hits him with that 1-2 crossover, gets that DB to the outside, and then he's able to escape back to the inside, or not escape to the inside, but accelerate to the inside and catch this ball on a slant. So number one here, when we hesitate, fellas, it's all about just kind of gathering info on this guy. It's a great clip. You guys have probably all seen it if you watch a lot of YouTube receiver stuff, that clip of Doug Baldwin where he's talking about his releases and how that hesitation, like that little skip or that little hop, it's all about gathering info on a DB, but we're trying to set him up. We're trying to set up traps for this guy, right? So when we hesitate here and we see that this DB's shooting to the outside, okay, I can kind of execute my plan where I give him that 1-2 and I give him that little in-out move where I get him to really move off that platform and jump to the outside, right? This case is a little different because it's a slant route, so it's like we almost have to do this. Like it's not necessarily like it's not like you're running a dig route where you could like hesitate and then if he jumps to the inside you could take the outside release. This is more like we have to go with this 1-2 because that's the only way to get him some separation. If he jumps to the inside here and he takes away my inside, if I try to take an outside release and go behind him, it's not going to work. So this is one of those cases where we want to attack him more, and it's not necessarily about getting, like, I would say necessarily a read on the guy. It's more so about just being patient and changing up the tempo, right? Because there's different types. There's different types of releases, and we're going to kind of talk about that as this video goes on, as we get to this, like our third clip that we're going to be looking at here. So when he gives this little hesitation move, changes up the tempo of the DB, kind of slows him down, doesn't necessarily know what he's doing, but then he hits him with that 1-2, right? Now, what this builds off of is how many times have you seen Adams do this little hesitation, skip, and then just go to the outside and run this slot fade, or in this case, maybe just run a quick little fade to the back corner of the end zone where Rodgers puts it up early. We've seen him do that a lot. You see him run a slot fade all the time off that little skip release, trying to change the tempo. DB sits to the inside, and then he goes. So that's what we're trying to sell. We're trying to sell this little skip 1-2, and you see what's going to sell it is how much you can move your upper half to the outside and how sudden your feet can be, because when your feet are sudden like that, it forces a reaction. It forces that DB to overcommit. You think, oh, shit, I don't want to get beat to the outside. I don't want to get beat to that corner, but your upper half is what will move him, because that's what he should be watching. Right? DB's eyes are a little high. DB, we shouldn't be looking at his head or his shoulders. We should be kind of focused on those hips and that number. But when you guys can sell with everything, that's why it's important to give a little head and shoulder shake, but also throw your hip out like a crossover. That's what can move this DB, and that's what can freeze this DB. Now, we understand that when we can freeze a DB and get his hips to lock out to the outside, what hand do we have to beat? You just got to beat his inside arm. Everybody loves to say, oh, Davante Adams doesn't use his hands. It's because he moves the guy off his platform, and we don't need to hand fight. We don't need to do that hand combat. We can just rip over the top and swat him down. So you see what he does here is he just rips with his right arm, right? He doesn't even need to bother with his left arm. He doesn't even need to swat, chop, worry about that other hand. Let's just get him off that platform and let's just swat down with my right arm, because that forces his hips to lock out. Now he cannot open up, and then we got all the separation in the world in the red zone, right? When you're in the red zone, this is a huge, huge gap that we just created for ourselves, okay? So this is a great, perfect example of how to use this kind of hesitation 1-2, little skip step 1-2. It's very important you change tempo. You gotta set this up as the game goes on, So if you're doing this one first right off the gate and you hesitate and hit him with a 1-2, and let's say we win on this slant, maybe the next time we come back to you and we got a little like slot fade, little goal line fade, I might want to take the same stem. Or not necessarily the same stem, but kind of the same tempos, kind of the same release, work him to the outside, maybe try to get him to discipline, sit on your inside hip, and then I just beat him in a foot race. And that's how we get in that head of the DB. That's how we can manipulate that DB with making all my releases look the same. That's why Davante Adams is so hard to cover off the line, because he builds everything off of this release. He builds, and he's got about 5, 6 things he does, but it's not super complicated, and they all build off each other. Let's watch the thing again, full speed. So he hesitates, throws that 1-2, upper half to the outside, swat those hands by, and then accelerate. That's a great route there by Adams. Now we're going to be talking about this little hesitation skip. Now this is kind of what we just talked about, right? So this is going to be a slant route, another way to run a slant route, but you see how he gives him this little hesitation, and then he takes off to the outside. That's the exact thing that we could set up off of that move before, where we hesitate and hit him with that 1-2, and then cut back on a slant. Now I'm taking the outside. Now this, yes, he does break back to the inside, but you see how much he's able to get that DB to turn his hips. That's how we build off of it, fellas. That's what we got to sell. That's what we got to make everything look the same. So now let's talk about this. So what do we have to do? This would be considered like a diamond release, which is like a slant route where you take kind of 3 hard steps on a 45-degree angle to the outside, get that DB to turn his hips, and we break it right back underneath him. That's what this would be considered, right? Now, what's important about any route, right? What's the number one thing that we have to do is sell vertical. We got to be able to sell fade. We got to be able to move this DB. We got to get him to turn his hips and make him believe that we're just trying to run right by him. So how I do that is with what? Pad level, good pad level, leg drive, so being able to stay in stride, and speed. It's body language and speed. That's what it all comes down to. So he gives this little hesitation skip, kind of sells that he's just going to go this hesitation and go release. We have to, for this to work, fellas, it's either the first thing we come out with, or we have to have set it up throughout the game, right? I've set him up a couple times, or maybe a little hesitation, a little 1-2, then I run back underneath, or this is the first thing that I decide to roll with, and this builds on all the other releases that I do today. But just even when you're not getting the ball, you work that little hesitation, skip, and then go. That lets that DB feel your speed. He feels your speed. He feels how you're running downfield. He feels that release. He's seen it before. So the next time he sees you do that little hesitation, release, and go, I'm going to turn my hips and run with you. And especially if that DB's a fit, he likes to study film on you, and you do this all the time, that's how you can build. That's how you can be unpredictable, and you don't have any tendencies, and that's how you guys can get more separation off the line, right? So again, hesitation, release, push vertical, drop this thing down on a dime, swat that DB by, and you see we get his hips to fully commit, and we can accelerate off this thing. That's a great route here. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. So again, this hesitation, release, right? Hesitate, take off, break down, come back to the inside. Great route on that slant. So now we're going to be looking at this kind of hesitation hop release, like this kind of like hesitation 1-2 at the outside release, and we're going to be looking at this comeback here and how you guys can create some space with an outside release with a hesitation now. So this first little like hesitation hop, this is the one where it's like we kind of want to get a read on the DB, right? Because this is what that I was talking about earlier with that like Doug Baldwin clip where he was talking about how, okay, I would hesitate, and that's just kind of to get a read on a DB. Is he going to shoot outside? Is he going to shoot inside? I'm just gathering info, right? So when I come off here and he gives this little hesitation move and he hits him with that jab to the inside, it's like a 1-2-3. It's a quick 2-3, doesn't necessarily sell to the inside, but you see when he hesitates, he sees that this DB's taking away his inside. Okay, fine. My initial plan off the line of scrimmage, I'm going to hit him with this hesitation 1-2, then take the outside release, right? But what if we kind of hesitate here and the DB shoots to the outside? We can just kind of hesitate and then go to the inside, because why force something to the outside? Why go run into him? A lot of the time releases is about reacting. How is this guy going to play me? If I hesitate at him and he takes away my outside, he is inside shade initially, so we probably can anticipate that he's not going to shoot way outside. But what if he's head up? What if you take that little hesitation step and he shoots to the outside? Let's just take the inside release, right? Let's take the inside releases, break up to the top of the route, maybe try to restack, maybe try to throw by. A comeback is tough when you take an inside release, 100%. But if the DB's taking it away, I can't just run into him and let him wall me and force me straight to the sideline. Then I have no space for the quarterback. I got to try something. So the best case scenario would be to restack, maybe give him a little peek back and snap this thing off, or maybe throw him by and break this thing off. But against man coverage, that's just something that you have to do. You got to be able to trust yourself at the top of the route. A comeback's a tricky one, but like let's say it's a speed out or a corner. Those are easy money to throw by. That's a technique that you have to work, or you restack, hit him with a rocker step, whatever it is. But you guys got to have a plan when you work this hesitation release, because when you're hesitating, again, you're gathering info. You're trying to read to see what this guy's doing. But you see how we hesitate here? He kind of sits to the inside, so now I work those hands, and now I push up vertical, right? I can take this outside release. I change up tempo, then I go to 100. Now, maybe one time he comes back now, and he's got to do like an inside breaking route, like a dig. So he maybe hesitates, he pushes up vertical, that DB overcommits, and then I break this thing back off underneath him. Or maybe I got to run a slant, or maybe I want to take an inside release, like I got to run a post, and maybe or not a post, that would take too long, but let's say it's a slant. Maybe I hesitate, and then I go 1, 2, 3, and I break this thing off right here on a slant and cut back underneath him. And you see how much he's able to commit his hips, how much we're able to get him to turn and run. It's all about building off of it, fellas. It's all about understanding that this hesitation release can work you outside, can work you inside, and how you can manipulate a DB by making everything look the same. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. So coming off the line here, he hesitates, pushes up vertical, and then gives that peek back, snaps that off on the comeback. Great job selling fade off that hesitation release. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions, leave those in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And also, guys, if you want a video, 40 minutes of we break down what wide receivers should not do. We talk a lot about the positives on this channel, but that's a full 40-minute video on what wide receivers shouldn't do, all the mistakes they make against press, top of the route, and how you guys can improve. Check out that very first link in the description. I'll see you guys next time.